The casino exploded at 3:12 inches the morning, not all at once. First came the chandeliers. 300,000 crystals trembled above the Grand Salon, catching the red emergency lights and scattering them across the marble floor like drops of blood. Then the eastern wall cracked from ceiling to foundation, gold-framed paintings tilted, champagne towers collapsed. Roulette wheels spun by themselves as the ground rolled beneath them. Amara Vale stood in the center of the room, holding a black ledger that could start a war. Around her, men in tuxedos drew guns. Women in diamonds screamed. The orchestra stopped mid-note. And Lorenzo De Luca, owner of the casino, ruler of Monaco's most feared criminal empire, walked toward her through the falling glass with blood on his white shirt and a detonator in his hand. "Give me the ledger," he said. His voice was calm. Everything else was breaking. Amara's fingers tightened around the book. "If I give it to you, you'll bury the truth. If you keep it, they'll bury you." A bullet struck the marble column beside her. Lorenzo turned, fired once, and the shooter disappeared behind an overturned baccarat table. The room erupted. Men ran toward them from both balconies. More gunfire tore through the smoke. A chandelier chain snapped overhead. Lorenzo crossed the distance between them in 3 strides, caught Amara by the waist, and pulled her against him as the crystal fixture crashed where she had been standing. She heard the impact, felt the heat, smelled burning silk and gunpowder. His body curved around hers, hard and absolute. "Look at me," he said. She did. His face was cut at the temple. His dark hair had fallen over his forehead. Fury lived in his eyes, but beneath it was something far more dangerous. Fear. Not for the casino. For her. "You said the vault could not be destroyed," Amara whispered. "I was wrong. You built this place over it. My father did. And now," Lorenzo lifted the detonator, "now I correct his mistake." Amara stared at him. This casino was worth more than some countries. Its towers rose over the Mediterranean like a palace built out of greed. Its vault held enough secrets to destroy judges, ministers, princes, and every mafia family from Palermo to Marseille. Lorenzo had spent 15 years protecting it. Now his thumb rested over the final switch. "What happens if you press that?" she asked. "The lower foundations collapse. And the vault, buried beneath 40,000 tons of stone. And everyone still inside?" His jaw tightened. "My men are clearing the upper floors." "That wasn't my question." Gunfire burst from the western entrance. Lorenzo stepped in front of her and returned fire. "Amara," he said without looking back, "if they reach that ledger, every person named inside it becomes a target. If they take you, they will keep you alive long enough to open every file. What about you?" "A pause. I am already in the ledger." Another explosion shook the floor. Flames climbed the velvet curtains. Lorenzo turned toward her. For one suspended second, the most powerful man in Monaco looked less like a king than a man standing in front of the only thing he could not command himself to lose. "I can rebuild a casino," he said. His eyes moved over her face, the pale islands of vitiligo along her cheek, the white pattern crossing her left brow, the marks on her hands where she clutched the book. "I cannot rebuild you." Then he pressed the switch. 3 weeks earlier, Dr. Amara Vale had arrived in Monaco because she believed she was being hired to authenticate paintings. The invitation came on heavy cream paper without a corporate logo. "Dr. Vale, the Casino Belladonna is preparing a private exhibition of previously unrecorded European works dating from 1780 to 1945. Your expertise in provenance recovery has been recommended at the highest level. The collection cannot leave the property. Discretion is mandatory. Compensation: 300 euros. Duration: 14 days. He read the letter twice. Then a third time. 300,000 euros was excessive for 14 days of work. That was the first warning. The second was the name of the casino. The Belladonna stood above Monaco's harbor, a black and gold palace with an arched glass roof, private gaming salons, a members-only hotel, and a reputation built on 2 things: impossible luxury and the certainty that nothing said inside its walls ever reached daylight. Royal families gambled there. Politicians disappeared into its private elevators. Billionaires lost fortunes without appearing in photographs. And Lorenzo De Luca owned all of it. Amara knew his name. Everyone in Europe did. Officially, he was an investor, hotelier, and shipping magnate. Unofficially, he controlled the De Luca organization, an old criminal dynasty with interests across Monaco, northern Italy, southern France, and the Adriatic ports. He was 39, unmarried, rarely interviewed, never publicly accused by anyone who wanted to remain alive. Amara should have declined. Instead, she looked around her one-bedroom apartment in Paris at the unpaid restoration loans stacked beside the sink and the framed photograph of her younger sister, Lena, who had been dead for 4 years. Then she looked back at the number. 300,000 euros would pay the debt attached to Lena's failed clinic. It would close the last account that still arrived in her sister's name. It would give Amara permission, perhaps, to stop living inside the consequences of a life she could no longer save. She accepted. The casino Belladonna received her at midnight. A black Bentley carried her from the train station along the curved harbour road. Monaco glittered below white yachts, mirrored towers, restaurant terraces floating above the sea. The casino stood at the top of a private avenue lined with cypress trees. Its exterior was not white like the grand European casinos Amara knew. It was dark, stone, bronze, and smoked glass. The roof arched over the central hall like a crown. As the car stopped, 2 men in black coats opened her door. Neither smiled. A woman waited at the entrance. She was perhaps 45. Elegant, silver-haired, wearing a perfectly cut navy suit. Dr. Vale. I'm Celeste Marin, Director of Private Collections. Thank you for arranging the commission. I arranged nothing. Celeste turned toward the doors. Mr. De Luca requested you personally. Amara paused. Have we met? No. Then why me? Celeste glanced at the pale patterns across Amara's face. Not rudely, not sympathetically, assessing. You notice what other people hide. They entered the casino. At midnight, the Grand Salon was alive. Music drifted from a suspended orchestra platform. Crystal chandeliers burned above red velvet tables. Women in couture moved through the room beside men whose watches cost more than Amara's apartment. She felt the first stares within seconds. They always came. Some people looked at the pale skin crossing her mouth and cheek, then quickly away. Others studied her openly, searching for illness, injury, or explanation. Amara had lived with vitiligo since she was 16. It began as a white mark on her left wrist, then her cheek, then the skin around one eye. By 20, the pattern had spread across both hands, her neck, and one side of her face. Doctors called it autoimmune depigmentation. Strangers called it beautiful, tragic, exotic, brave, unfortunate, fascinating, and once in a museum cafe, contagious. Amara called it skin. She had learned not to apologize for being visible. She had not learned to enjoy it. Celeste guided her away from the main floor toward a private elevator. Your accommodations are on level 21. I thought I was here to work. You begin tomorrow. I would prefer to see the collection tonight. Celeste looked at her. You've traveled 9 hours. I don't sleep well in unfamiliar places. That is unfortunate. The elevator doors opened. A man stood inside. Lorenzo De Luca wore a black evening jacket without a tie. He was taller than photographs suggested, broad-shouldered, dark-haired, his features controlled to the point of severity. 2 men stood behind him. Both carried weapons beneath their coats. Lorenzo looked at Celeste. You were told to bring her through the east corridor. The east elevator is being inspected. His gaze moved to Amara. It did not catch on the vitiligo. That was the first thing she noticed. Most people looked at it before they looked at her. Lorenzo looked directly into her eyes. Dr. Vale, Mr. De Luca, you arrived early. Your letter said midnight. It said the car would collect you at midnight. Then your letter was imprecise. Celeste went still. One of the men behind Lorenzo glanced toward Amara as if measuring how much effort it would take to remove a body from an elevator. Lorenzo pressed the button for the upper floor. Do you always correct your employers within the first minute? Only when they're wrong. Something changed at the corner of his mouth. Not a smile. The possibility of one. The elevator rose. Amara became aware of the silence, of Lorenzo's presence beside her, of the faint scent of cedar and smoke on his coat. He looked at the leather portfolio beneath her arm. You brought your own ultraviolet equipment. Yes. The collection room is equipped. I don't trust equipment I haven't calibrated. Do you trust anything you didn't choose? The question landed too close. Amara turned toward him. Do you? His eyes held hers. No. The elevator opened onto a circular gallery overlooking the casino floor. Below them, hundreds of guests moved through gold light. From this height, they looked arranged, controlled. Tomorrow at 9, Lorenzo said. Celeste will take you to the collection. What exactly am I authenticating? Paintings. That answer is beneath both of us. The men behind him shifted. Lorenzo remained still. Then surprise me, Dr. Vale. He walked away. Amara watched him cross the gallery. Celeste exhaled quietly. You should be careful. With him? With believing that his interest is harmless. The next morning, Amara entered the private collection room. It occupied the entire northern wing beneath the casino's hotel tower. The door required 3 biometric scans. Inside, museum-grade lights illuminated 32 paintings, 6 sculptures, and 4 locked cases containing illuminated manuscript. The collection was extraordinary and wrong. Amara recognized a lost Delacroix, believed destroyed during the Second World War. A charcoal drawing attributed to Degas, a Venetian altarpiece removed from a church during the Napoleonic campaigns, a small Klimt study that had vanished from a Jewish family's home in Vienna in 1938. She stood in silence. This is not a collection, she said. Celeste closed the door. What is it? Evidence. Celeste's face revealed nothing. Amara approached the Klimt. The back of the frame carried 6 ownership marks, 3 false custom seals, and 1 small red symbol pressed into the wood. A belladonna flower. Where do these pieces come from? Private acquisitions. Stolen acquisition. That is a legal conclusion. It is a historical fact. Celeste folded her hands. You were hired to authenticate them, and if they were looted, you document it. What happens to my report? Mr. De Luca decides. Amara turned. No. Celeste's gaze sharpened. No. I do not provide provenance work for private collectors who intend to bury it. You accepted the money. I accepted an authentication commission. You have been here 10 hours, and I can leave in 10 minutes. The door opened behind them. Lorenzo entered alone. You can, he said. Amara looked at him. He wore a dark grey suit. No visible weapon. Will I? That depends on whether you believe leaving makes you safer. She studied him. Is that a threat? No. It is the first honest thing anyone has said to you in this room. Celeste stepped aside. Lorenzo approached the Klimt. This painting belonged to the Weiss family. Amara looked at him. You know that? Yes. Then why is it here? Because my father bought it from the man who stole it. Your father is dead. Yes. And the family? One granddaughter survives in London. Then return it. I intend to. The answer stopped her. Lorenzo looked at the collection. Every piece in this room entered my family through theft, coercion, gambling debt, or war. I am building the legal chain needed to return them without exposing the people who originally moved them. You mean, without exposing your family? That too. You could surrender the records to authorities. Which authorities? Interpol. They lose files. National museums. They accept donations from the same men who stole these. Courts. Courts can be purchased. His voice remained calm, not defensive. Certain. Amara hated that some part of her believed him. Why me? She asked. Because you authenticated the Marceau triptych when 6 institutions called it a forgery. It was not difficult. You were the only person who noticed the restorer had used pigment from a mine closed in 1911. That was the work. No. The work was looking at what everyone else had agreed not to see. His eyes moved over her face then, slowly, not at the vitiligo itself. At the way she reacted to being observed, Amara lifted her chin. Say whatever you're thinking. I was thinking that people probably mistake being visible for being known. The words struck with surgical precision. Do you practice that? She asked. Practice what? Sounding profound, while refusing to answer direct questions. Yes. Good. At least one of us is honest. That time, he smiled. Barely. It made him more dangerous. Amara began work. For 5 days, she examined paintings. She photographed stretchers, traced shipping labels, tested pigments, and reconstructed ownership chains buried beneath false names. Lorenzo visited each evening. Sometimes he asked questions. Sometimes he stood in silence while she worked. He never touched the art. He also never touched her. But she became aware of every moment he almost did. When he leaned over her shoulder to read a note, when she passed him a magnifying glass, and their fingers stopped a fraction apart. When he guided her through a crowd in the gaming hall, with his hand hovering near the small of her back, never landing. The restraint was deliberate. She did not know whether it was respect or control. On the 6th night, Amara found the first cipher. It was hidden in the frame of the Delacroix. The red Belladonna symbol appeared again, surrounded by 8 tiny gold marks. She had seen the same arrangement in another painting, and a third. The marks were not restoration codes. They were coordinates. Amara placed transparent overlays over photographs of all 32 frames. The marks aligned into a map of the casino. At the center was an unlisted chamber beneath the original gaming floor. She showed Celeste. The director went pale. Who else has seen this? No one. Destroy your notes. Amara stared at her. Why? Celeste locked the collection room. Because those symbols were designed by Lorenzo's father. What do they mean? I don't know. You're lying. Celeste looked toward the ceiling, toward unseen cameras. Do not ask Lorenzo. That is unusual advice from his employee. I am not warning you as his employee. Then as what? Celeste stepped closer, as the woman who watched his mother die. Before Amara could respond, the lights went out. Emergency red lamps came on. The door lock disengaged. Celeste reached beneath her jacket. Gunfire erupted in the corridor. The first bullet struck the collection room door. The second passed through it. Celeste pushed Amara behind a stone plinth and drew a pistol. You carry a gun in a museum collection? This is not a museum. The doors burst open. 2 masked men entered. Celeste fired. One fell. The other shot her in the shoulder. Amara heard the impact before Celeste hit the floor. The gunman turned toward her. Then, Lorenzo appeared behind him. He seized the man's wrist, forced the weapon upward, and drove him face first into the doorframe. The movement was fast, silent, and frighteningly efficient. The gunman dropped. Lorenzo fired once into his chest. Amara froze. She had seen violence in archival photographs, on surveillance footage, in history, never this close. Lorenzo looked at her. Are you hurt? She could not answer. His gaze moved over her body, searching for blood. Amara. It was the first time he had used her first name. She realized she was holding a shard of broken frame glass, like a knife. Lorenzo approached slowly. Put it down. No. They're dead. You killed him. Yes. He was on the floor. He was reaching for another weapon. She looked. A second pistol lay beneath the man's coat. Her grip loosened. The glass fell. Lorenzo stopped, 1 step away. May I touch you? The question cut through the shock, not an assumption. Permission. Amara nodded once. He took her wrist and turned her hand over. A thin line of blood crossed her palm, where the glass had cut her vitiligo pale skin. Lorenzo's expression darkened. It is nothing. It is yours. She did not understand why that answer made her pulse change. He wrapped a handkerchief around her palm. Behind them, Celeste groaned. Lorenzo released Amara immediately and crossed to her. Within minutes, the casino's private security team sealed the corridor. Guests upstairs continued gambling. The orchestra played louder. No announcement was made. Blood disappeared beneath men with cleaning equipment. Amara stood beside the Delacroix while chaos was erased around her. Lorenzo returned. "You are leaving the casino tonight. You said leaving might not make me safer. It no longer does. What did those men want?" He looked at the overlays on the table. "The same thing you found. What is beneath the casino?" "Silence, Lorenzo." His face became cold again. "Nothing you should know. Men just shot Celeste over it and nearly killed you. That gives me more reason to know. It gives me a reason to remove you. You hired me because I notice hidden things. You do not get to become angry when I do. I am not angry. You killed a man 10 feet from me." That was anger. His eyes locked on hers. "This is fear." The admission changed the room. Lorenzo turned away first. "You will be moved to my residence above Cap Dale?" "No. It is secure." "I'm not going anywhere with you. You are already with me." "That is exactly the problem." A muscle tightened in his jaw. "Dr. Vale, 3 armed men entered a sealed collection room tonight. One escaped. He saw your face. People tend to. This is not about your skin. It always becomes about my skin." He stepped closer. "No. It becomes about the fact that no disguise will make you disappear." The words landed hard. He realized it. His voice lowered. "I did not mean, yes. You did." Amara turned away. She hated that her eyes burned. Hated that he had found the old fear she pretended not to carry. She had learned to be proud of her skin. She had learned to let photographers call it striking. She had given lectures about visibility and representation, but pride did not erase practicality. She could not vanish in a crowd. She could not change her hair and become anonymous. Anyone who saw her once remembered her. Lorenzo spoke behind her. "You are unforgettable." She looked back. He stood completely still. "That is not a compliment," she said. "No. What is it?" "A fact I've been trying not to think about." The air shifted. Then the private elevator opened, and Vittorio Sanzio entered. He was 62, silver-haired, elegant, wearing a cream dinner jacket. He carried no visible weapon and smiled like a man entering a reception. "Lorenzo, I heard there was an incident." Lorenzo's expression shut down. "Who told you?" "Everyone tells me everything eventually." Vittoria's eyes moved to Amara. Unlike Lorenzo, he looked at her vitiligo first. He smiled warmly. "Dr. Vale, at last." "At last? I recommended you." Amara glanced at Lorenzo. He went still. "You said you requested me personally. I approved the recommendation." Vittorio approached the overlays, and she found it. Lorenzo stepped between him and the table. "Found what?" Vittorio's smile remained. "Come now. Your father never placed a mark without purpose." He looked at Amara. "You have no idea what you've opened, do you?" "No." "Good." Lorenzo's voice turned hard. "Leave." Vittorio raised an eyebrow. "This casino exists because I kept your father from being murdered before you were born. It exists because men like you believed fear was a foundation. And yet, you stand on it." For one long moment, the two men faced each other. Then Vittorio nodded toward Amara. "Move her somewhere safe. The girl is valuable." Lorenzo's eyes darkened. "She is not a girl." "No?" "No." Vittorio watched him closely. Then he smiled, the smile of a man who had just found leverage. Amara was taken to Lorenzo's villa before dawn. It stood on a cliff above the sea, all white stone, black glass, and terraces carved into the rock. She was given a bedroom overlooking the Mediterranean. The doors locked from the inside. The windows did not open. 2 armed guards stood in the hall. Forced proximity, she thought. A beautiful prison was still a prison. Lorenzo entered after sunrise, carrying a tray, coffee, bread, a first aid kit. "You brought breakfast?" "My staff did." "You carried it." "They are not allowed in this wing." "Why?" "Because you are here." "That is not reassuring." He set the tray down. Amara stood near the window in the same clothes from the night before. Where is Celeste? Alive. Surgery was successful. The attackers belonged to the Sanzio network. She stared at him. Vittoria's network. Yes. Your godfather. Yes. The man who recommended me. Yes. The room seemed colder. He hired me to find the vault. Lorenzo said nothing. You knew. I suspected. And you let me work. I wanted to know whether the cipher was real. You used me. Yes. The honesty was immediate. Cruel. Amara folded her arms. Why admit it? Because lying now would insult you. You think this does not? It does. She walked toward him. You brought me into a casino full of stolen art because your father hid a map inside the frames. You knew someone might come for it. You allowed me to find the entrance, and now men have seen my face. I did not know Vittorio had identified you. You didn't know because you believed you controlled everything. His expression hardened. I controlled enough to keep you alive. So far. Yes. That is not protection. What is it? Damage management. The words struck. Lorenzo looked toward the sea. For the first time, she saw exhaustion beneath the power. When I was 14, he said, my mother discovered the lower vault. Amara remained silent. She confronted my father. 3 days later, she died in a car explosion outside Genoa. You believe your father killed her. I believed a rival family did. Until now, Celeste recognized the cipher. She was my mother's security chief. She told me she watched your mother die. She pulled me from the second car. The distance in his voice made the memory more painful. What is in the vault? Amara asked. Records. Of what? Everything. That is not an answer. Lorenzo looked at her. My father recorded debts, affairs, illegitimate children, political payments, murders disguised as accidents, police officers on payroll, judges who accepted gifts, priests who moved money, and every agreement made between the major mafia families in Europe. Amara's breath slowed. That could destroy them all. It could make one man rule them all. Vittorio. Yes. Why hasn't anyone opened it before? The final chamber uses an art cipher my father designed with a conservator, and you needed me to authenticate it. I needed someone who could read restoration history as language. She laughed once without humor. So I am okay. Yes. The answer hurt more because he did not soften it. Amara moved toward the door. Lorenzo blocked her path. Move. No. You do not own me. No. Then move. If you leave this villa, Vittorio will take you. And if I stay, I will find him first. You expect me to trust you? No. His voice lowered. I expect you to stay alive long enough to decide whether you can. For the next 4 days, Amara remained at the villa. Lorenzo came and went at all hours. He never entered her room without knocking. He never touched her without asking. He also never allowed her beyond the gates. They argued each morning. Each night, he returned with new information. The escaped attacker had been found dead in Marseille. A forged passport with Amara's photograph had appeared in Turin. Someone had leaked her name to 3 criminal brokers. Every new fact tightened the invisible walls around her. Yet the villa became strangely intimate. Lorenzo ate alone. He slept rarely. He kept a locked music room filled with records that had belonged to his mother. One evening, Amara found him there, sitting in darkness, while an old Italian aria played. She stopped in the doorway. I knocked. I heard. You didn't answer. I assumed you would enter anyway. You're learning. He sat in a leather chair, jacket removed, sleeves rolled to his forearms, a scar crossed his left wrist. Amara noticed the burn pattern. Car explosion? His eyes moved to the scar. Yes, you were with her, in the second car. You remember? Everything. She remained at the door. Do you want me to leave? No. She entered. The room smelled of dust, cedar, and old vinyl. On the mantel stood a photograph of a dark-haired woman beside a teenage Lorenzo. His mother had her hand on his shoulder. He was not smiling. She was beautiful. Amara said, "So are you." The words came too quickly to be calculated. Silence filled the room. Lorenzo looked away. Amara's pulse changed. "Do not say things you don't mean." "I do not." "Then do not say things that sound like tactics." He stood. "Everything I say sounds like a tactic to you, because everything you do is one." He crossed the room slowly. "You think I am trying to seduce you, aren't you?" "No." The answer offended her more than it should have. Lorenzo stopped close enough that she could see the small scar beneath his right eye. "I am trying not to." Her breath caught. "Why?" "Because you are trapped in my house. That has not stopped men like you before." "No." His gaze moved to her mouth. "But you have." He raised one hand, stopped before touching the pale pattern along her jaw. Amara felt the absence of contact like heat. "Do you want to?" she asked. His eyes returned to hers. "Yes." "Then why don't you?" "Because wanting something does not give me the right to take it." The answer entered somewhere she had kept closed for years. Amara's sister had once told her that powerful men respected boundaries only when boundaries belonged to other powerful men. Lorenzo had built his life on power, yet he stood inches from her and waited. Amara lifted his hand and placed it against her cheek. His fingers went still. She watched control leave his face, one fracture at a time. "Do not mistake this for trust," she whispered. "I would not dare." He touched her carefully, not tracing the vitiligo, not avoiding it, simply holding her face as though the pattern was neither wound nor miracle, as though it was part of her. The music turned softly behind them. He leaned closer. The security alarm sounded. Lorenzo stepped away instantly. The moment shattered. Enzo Carbone, head of Lorenzo's security, entered with a tablet. "Movement at the eastern perimeter." Lorenzo's expression became cold. "How many?" "6 vehicles." "Vittorio?" "Possibly." Lorenzo reached for his jacket. Amara caught his arm. "What happens if they breach the villa?" "They will not." "You said that about the collection room." His gaze snapped to hers. "I will not make the same mistake twice." "What do you need from me?" "Stay here." "No." "Amara, you said I am the key." "Then stop hiding the lock." Gunfire erupted outside. Windows shuddered. Lorenzo looked toward the door, then back at her. Decision moved through his face. "Come with me." They descended through the villa's private elevator into an underground garage. Black SUVs waited, with engines running. Men in tactical gear moved through concrete corridors. Amara climbed into the center vehicle beside Lorenzo. As the convoy accelerated through a cliffside tunnel, explosions shook the road behind them. "Where are we going?" she asked. "The casino. You said the vault is beneath it." "Yes. That is where Vittorio wants me. It is also the only place he believes I would never take you. You are taking me into the trap. I am taking you to the only fortress I still control." "Do you?" Lorenzo looked at her. No. The honesty frightened her. They entered the Belladonna through a service tunnel below sea level. The public floors remained open. Above them, music played. Below them, armed men moved through maintenance corridors. Lorenzo led Amara to the private collection wing. The paintings had been removed. Only the frames remain. Celeste stood beside the wall, her injured shoulder bandaged beneath a black sling. "You should be in a hospital," Amara said. "So should you." Celeste looked at Lorenzo. "Vittorio has people inside the casino. We don't know how many. We open the vault now," Lorenzo said. Celeste went pale. "If you open it, every family will know. They already know enough to attack." Amara spread the overlays across the floor. The coordinates formed a pattern leading to the old roulette salon beneath the central staircase. They descended through a hidden service door. The original casino lay below the modern building. Dust-covered painted ceilings, gaming tables from the 1920s, stood beneath sheets. At the far wall, a mural depicted Persephone holding a pomegranate. Amara approached it. The painting had been restored multiple times. Different hands, different pigments. One detail was wrong. Persephone's left hand had 6 fingers. Amara pressed the 6th. Stone shifted. A bronze panel opened. Behind it, waited a circular mechanism engraved with miniature paintings. An art lock, she whispered. Lorenzo stood behind her. Can you open it? Probably. That does not sound confident. I am confident. I simply dislike giving men certainty. Despite the danger, the corner of his mouth moved. Amara examined the panels. Each represented a stolen work from the collection. The correct sequence depended on restoration dates, not original creation dates. She turned the first panel, then the second. The mechanism clicked. The wall opened. Cold air moved from the darkness beyond. The vault corridor descended into black stone. At the end stood a steel door. Amara felt the weight of the building above them. The casino, the guests, the chandeliers, the sea. Lorenzo entered a numeric code. The steel door opened. The first chamber contained shelves of ledgers, hundreds, each marked with a family name: Russo, Bellini, Orsini, Marchetti, Sanzio, De Luca. European criminal history arranged in black leather. The second chamber contained photographs, recordings, passports, DNA reports, and sealed envelopes. Amara stopped before a wall of portraits. Children, some newborn, some teenagers. Who are they? Illegitimate heirs, Celeste said. Insurance. Amara's stomach turned. Lorenzo's face hardened. My father kept bloodlines as weapons. In the third chamber, they found the digital archive. A console sat beneath a glass case. The screen required a biometric scan and a final cipher. Vittorio's voice came through the intercom. Beautiful, isn't it? Everyone froze. Lorenzo drew his weapon. You were always sentimental around your father's sins. Vittorio continued. That is why he never believed you deserved them. Celeste searched the walls. He's in the surveillance system. Amara looked upward. A camera lens moved toward her. Vittorio's voice softened. Dr. Vale, you have done extraordinary work. You arranged the attack. Of course. You shot Celeste. She survived. You wanted me frightened. I wanted Lorenzo attached. Lorenzo's eyes darkened. Vittorio laughed quietly. He believes distance is strength. I needed him to want something close enough to threaten. Amara looked at Lorenzo. His expression revealed nothing. Vittorio continued. The final archive contains the master index. Open it. No. Lorenzo said. You do not have that choice. The vault door slammed shut behind them. Ventilation stopped. Celeste looked at the control panel. He sealed us in. How much air? Amara asked. Perhaps 40 minutes. Vittorio's voice filled the chamber. Open the archive, and I release you. Lorenzo approached the camera. If she opens it, you kill us anyway. Not her. Amara felt cold. Vittorio continued. She is too valuable. You, Lorenzo, are no longer necessary. Lorenzo fired at the camera. The lens shattered. The intercom remained active. You see? Vittorio said. Emotional. Lorenzo turned to Amara. Do not open it. You have another exit? No. Can Enzo reach us? He does not know the lower access route. Then we need time. Opening that archive gives Vittorio everything. What if I open it incorrectly? Lorenzo stared at her. Amara approached the console. The system uses art restoration logic. Your father assumed anyone who reached this room would try to decode the correct sequence. Yes. He may also have built a fail-safe. Celeste understood. A destructive sequence. Amara nodded. If I can trigger it, the archive wipes itself. And the physical ledgers? Lorenzo asked. Still here. Then Vittorio still wins. Amara looked around the chamber. What is beneath us? The original foundation. And beneath that? Sea tunnels. She faced him. Can this place be collapsed? Lorenzo's expression changed. Yes. Celeste looked at him. Lorenzo. He said nothing. The explosive charges were installed by your father, she said. They were meant to destroy the vault if the authorities ever breached the casino. Amara understood. How much of the building would go with it? Lorenzo's gaze remained on hers. Most of it. The casino? Yes. People are upstairs. 2,700 guests and staff. Amara stepped back. No. Evacuation would alert Vittorio. Then find another way. There may not be one. There must be. Lorenzo moved closer. You think I care about the building? You should care about the people. I do. Then do not turn them into collateral damage. His jaw tightened. I will not. The certainty in his voice steadied her. How? I give Vittorio what he expects. Lorenzo opened the De Luca ledger. Inside were coded pages. He removed a folded map. Emergency service routes, he said. Celeste. Find the manual line to security. Begin a silent evacuation through the hotel alarm system. Vittorio will see. Not if Amara keeps him watching the archive. She looked at him. What do I do? Open it slowly. And if he enters, I stop him. You cannot stop every man in this casino. No, his eyes held hers. But I can stop anyone who reaches you. The next 25 minutes became a performance. Amara worked at the console while Vittorio watched through a second hidden camera. She turned digital representations of the paintings in a false sequence, paused, corrected, and asked questions she already knew the answers to. Above them, the casino began evacuating, not with alarms, with a staged gas leak in the hotel tower. Dealers quietly closed tables. Security teams guided guests toward exits. Musicians continued playing as the Grand Salon emptied one section at a time. Vittorio grew impatient. Faster. The sequence is layered, Amara said. You were paid for expertise. I was paid to authenticate art, not unlock a criminal archive. You accepted the work. So did every person upstairs who thought they were entering a casino instead of a tomb. Lorenzo glanced at her. Vittorio's voice sharpened. Careful. Amara looked directly at the camera. You mistake cruelty for authority. Silence. Then Vittorio laughed. I understand why he wants you. Lorenzo went still. Amara continued working. The console unlocked its final stage. A grid of family crests appeared. At the center was a belladonna flower. Celeste spoke through the manual phone. Upper hotel cleared. Grand Salon at 40%. We need 10 more minutes. Vittorio heard. The intercom went silent. Lorenzo's face changed. He knows. Gunfire erupted beyond the vault door. Enzo's men engaged Vittorio's forces in the lower corridor. The steel door shook under an explosion. Celeste drew her pistol. Lorenzo took Amara's face between his hands. The gesture was so sudden, she froze. Listen to me. I am. If the door opens, you stay behind me. No. Amara. You cannot protect me if I cannot move. His eyes burned. This is not a debate. It is when my life is involved. The door buckled. Lorenzo lowered his forehead to hers. For 1 second, the gunfire disappeared. I should never have brought you here. You brought me because you needed me. I kept you because I could not let you go. Her breath caught. The confession came without softness, like something torn out under pressure. I do not know when that changed, he said. I only know that the thought of them touching you makes everything I built feel worthless. Another explosion shook the chamber. Amara placed her hands over his wrists. Then do not make me worthless by deciding for me. His eyes closed briefly. When they opened, control had returned. But something between them had changed permanently. What do you choose? He asked. She turned toward the console. To finish this, the vault door exploded inward. Smoke filled the corridor. Vittorio entered with 8 armed men. He wore a black suit now. No dinner jacket. His face calm. Enzo lay on the floor behind him, bleeding, but alive. Step away from the console, Vittorio said. Lorenzo moved in front of Amara. Vittorio sighed. Always the body before the mind. You taught me. I taught you survival. You taught me that love was a weakness men should exploit. Vittorio's eyes moved to Amara. And was I wrong? No. Lorenzo said. You were incomplete. The answer made Vittorio's smile fade. Lorenzo continued. Love is a weakness only if the other person is less dangerous than you. Amara pressed the final icon. The console opened. A mechanical compartment rose from beneath it. Inside lay a black ledger bound with silver wire. The master index. Every file in the vault reduced to names and locations. Vittorio's eyes brightened. "Bring it to me." Amara lifted the ledger. Lorenzo whispered, "Not yet." Vittorio aimed at Celeste and fired. The bullet struck her leg. She fell. Amara flinched. "Bring it," Vittorio repeated, "or the next one enters her heart." Lorenzo's gun hand tightened. Vittorio's men aimed at him. Amara stepped around Lorenzo. He caught her wrist. "No." She looked at him. "Choice." His face broke. "Barely." Then he released her. Amara walked toward Vittorio carrying the ledger. Every man watched her. Every eye followed the white patterns across her hands, gripping the black leather. She stopped 6 feet away. Vittorio extended his hand. "You were wasted in museums. So were the paintings you stole." He smiled. "History belongs to those who can keep it." "No," Amara said. "History belongs to those who survive the people trying to erase it." She threw the ledger into the open furnace shaft beside the emergency generator. Vittorio shouted. The book struck flame. Gunfire erupted. Lorenzo moved first. He shot the nearest guard, pulled Amara to the floor, and covered her body as bullets tore through the archive room. Celeste fired from the ground. Enzo rolled behind the steel door and shot 2 men from the corridor. Vittorio lunged toward the furnace shaft. Lorenzo intercepted him. The 2 men crashed against the console. Amara crawled toward Celeste. "Can you stand?" "No." Amara dragged her behind a cabinet. Vittorio struck Lorenzo with the grip of his gun. Lorenzo staggered. Vittorio fired. The bullet entered Lorenzo's side. Amara screamed his name. He did not fall. He caught Vittorio's wrist and drove him into the glass case. The master console shattered. Alarms began screaming. The digital archive displayed a warning. Foundation, fail-safe, arm. Amara stared at the countdown. 2 minutes. Vittorio saw it too. "You triggered the destruction protocol." "I did not," Amara said. Lorenzo looked at the broken console. "My father did." The archive had interpreted the destruction of the master ledger as a breach. The casino was going to collapse. Vittorio smiled through blood. "Then we all die with it." Lorenzo struck him hard. Vittorio fell against the floor. Enzo reached them. "Upper levels are almost clear." "Almost?" Amara demanded. "Private salons remain occupied." "How many?" 40 through. Lorenzo looked at the countdown. 9 minutes. "Get them out." Enzo hesitated. "And you?" "Go." Celeste grabbed Enzo's arm. "Take me." He lifted her. Lorenzo turned to Amara. "You are leaving with them." "No." His face became cold. "This time, I am not asking." Amara looked at the blood spreading across his shirt. "You cannot climb 20 levels in 9 minutes. I know another route." "Where?" He said nothing. She understood. "There is no route, Amara. You are staying to detonate the lower charges early. The fail-safe may not collapse the deepest chamber. Vittorio's men could still recover physical files. So you plan to destroy the entire foundation?" "Yes, and yourself, if necessary." The words went quiet between them. Vittorio laughed from the floor. "There he is, his father's son." Lorenzo did not look at him. Amara stepped closer. "You do not get to use sacrifice as another form of control." His eyes hardened. "This is not about control. It is about deciding your death will protect me better than your life." "It might." "No, Amara. No." The countdown reached 8 minutes. She looked at the vault shelves. "Can the charges be triggered remotely?" "From the Grand Salon." "Then we go together. The upper floors may not be clear. Then we clear them." He stared at her. Amara took his hand. "You said you cannot rebuild me." Her voice shook. "I cannot rebuild you either." For one moment, the Mafia boss disappeared. There was only Lorenzo, a wounded man in a dying vault, looking at a woman who had just made survival sound more frightening than sacrifice. He nodded once. They ran. Enzo carried Celeste toward the service elevator. Amara supported Lorenzo through the lower corridor. Behind them, Vittorio's surviving men freed him. The countdown continued. 7 minutes. The casino's underground halls flashed red. Steam burst from broken pipes. The service elevator stopped at the original gaming floor. They climbed the hidden staircase into the grand salon. The evacuation was almost complete. Almost. A group of high-level guests remained near the private baccarat salon, arguing with security. A prince refused to leave without his briefcase. A billionaire demanded proof of danger. Lorenzo fired a shot into the ceiling. Silence fell. "The building is collapsing," he said. "Leave the money, leave the jewelry, leave whatever you believed mattered before this moment." No one argued again. Security rushed them toward the exits. The countdown reached 5 minutes. Vittorio's men entered from the eastern balcony. Gunfire shattered the chandeliers. Lorenzo pushed Amara behind a roulette table and returned fire. Crystal rained across the floor. The orchestra platform crashed. Black smoke filled the gold-lit hall. This was the moment the casino stopped pretending to be civilized. Men in tuxedos became soldiers. Velvet tables became barricades. Diamonds scattered through blood and broken glass. Amara crawled toward the central control station. The detonation switch was behind the cashier cage. Lorenzo fought his way toward her. Vittorio appeared on the balcony above. "You burn your inheritance for a woman you met 14 days ago?" Lorenzo looked up. "No." His voice carried through the grand salon. "I burn it because men like you taught me to mistake inheritance for destiny." Vittorio aimed at Amara. Lorenzo saw. He ran. The gun fired. Lorenzo struck Amara from the side, taking the bullet through his shoulder. They hit the marble floor together. The Black Master ledger, rescued from the furnace by one of Vittorio's men, slid across the floor and stopped beside Amara's hand. She stared at it. The cover was scorched, but intact. Vittorio descended the stairs. "Bring it to me." Lorenzo tried to rise. Blood covered his shirt. Amara grabbed the ledger and backed toward the detonator. Vittorio raised his weapon. "You are not a martyr, Dr. Vale?" "No." She looked at Lorenzo. "I am a curator." The word confused Vittorio. Amara held up the ledger. "My job is to decide what deserves preservation." Then she threw the ledger into the fire, consuming the roulette salon. Vittorio fired. Lorenzo shot him first. The bullet struck Vittorio's chest. He fell against the staircase. The countdown reached 60 seconds. Lorenzo forced himself upright. The detonator waited behind the broken cashier glass. Amara reached it. "Where is everyone?" she asked. Enzo's voice came through the radio. "Upper floors clear. West service team still inside." "How many?" "6." Lorenzo looked toward the western corridor. "I'll get them. You can barely stand." "They are my men. They are people," Amara said. "We go together." They entered the smoke. The western service team was trapped behind a collapsed beam near the hotel elevators. Lorenzo and Amara helped pull debris away. 30 seconds. 25. The last man crawled free. Enzo shouted through the radio. Now, they ran toward the harbor exit. Behind them, Vittorio moved. He was still alive. He seized Amara by the coat and dragged her backward. Lorenzo turned. Vittorio pressed a knife beneath her ribs. "You destroy everything," Vittorio gasped. "And you think he will still want you when you are all he has left?" Amara looked at Lorenzo. Blood ran down his arm. The casino burned behind him. His empire was seconds from becoming ash. His answer came without hesitation. "She is not what I have left." Vittorio tightened his grip. Lorenzo raised his pistol. "She is what I choose." He fired. Vittorio fell. Lorenzo pulled Amara toward the exit. 10 seconds. They reached the grand salon. The ceiling cracked. The chandeliers began to fall. 5 seconds. Lorenzo placed his hand over Amara's on the detonator. "Together," he said. They pressed it. The foundations blew. The casino rose beneath them. Marble split. Fire erupted through the roulette pits. The floor collapsed in waves. Lorenzo wrapped his body around Amara and threw them through the open harbor doors as the grand salon disappeared behind a wall of flame. They landed on the rain-slicked terrace. The glass roof exploded over the Mediterranean. Amara felt the shockwave roll across the harbor. Black stone folded inward. The Belladonna, crown of the De Luca Empire, collapsed into itself. Lorenzo lay beside her. Still, Lorenzo. No response. She pressed both hands against his chest. Lorenzo. His eyes opened. You are shouting. You are alive. Apparently, she laughed and cried at the same time. He reached up and touched the white pattern at her cheek. His fingers trembled. Did everyone get out? Yes. The vault? Gone. The casino? Amara looked behind them. Flames climbed where the tower had stood. Very gone. He closed his eyes. She thought he had lost consciousness. Then he said, Good. The hospital occupied a private wing above Monaco. Lorenzo underwent surgery for 6 hours. Amara waited in a room full of men who obeyed him and did not know what to do with themselves while he was unconscious. Enzo sat with his hands covered in dried blood. Celeste slept after surgery. No one spoke about the casino. Television screens showed the ruins. Authorities called it a catastrophic structural failure following an underground gas explosion. News helicopters circled the harbor. Financial markets reacted. Politicians denied ever visiting. 3 mafia families released statements mourning Lorenzo before confirming whether he was dead. At dawn, a surgeon entered. He is stable. Amara's knees weakened. Enzo caught her elbow. She pulled away automatically, then looked at him. Thank you. He nodded. Lorenzo woke that afternoon. Amara sat beside the bed. His left shoulder was bandaged. Tubes ran beneath the blanket. The man who could command rooms without raising his voice looked temporarily human beneath hospital light. His eyes found her. You stayed. You destroyed my hotel room. It was my hotel. Not anymore. His mouth moved, a weak smile. Amara leaned back. What happens now? To the casino? To you. He looked toward the window. Vittorio is dead. The vault is gone. Every family will assume I destroyed it to protect my own secrets. Did you? No. Then why? He looked at her. You know why. I want to hear you say it when no one is shooting. Silence stretched. Lorenzo's fingers moved against the sheet. I destroyed the Belladonna because as long as it stood, the vault existed. As long as the vault existed, you remained useful to anyone who wanted it. And your empire can survive without marble. Your reputation was never worth your life. Her throat tightened. You barely know me. I know you look at stolen paintings and see the people erased from their frames. His voice was quiet. I know you pretend staring does not wound you because you refuse to give strangers power over your skin. I know you become angry when afraid and precise when grieving. I know you do not trust gifts, compliments, locked doors, or men who make decisions on your behalf. His eyes held hers. And I know I have not slept properly since the night you nearly kissed me in my mother's music room. Amara's pulse changed. That was not nearly a kiss. No? No. What was it? A mistake interrupted before completion. Then we should correct the record. Even wounded, his voice carried danger. Amara leaned closer, stopped inches from his mouth. May I? He asked. The same question he had asked before touching her hand in the collection room. Permission. Always permission. Yes. He kissed her slowly, not like a man claiming a prize, like a man learning he had survived long enough to want something beyond victory. His hand rose to her face, his thumb rested where dark skin met pale. Amara did not close her eyes. Neither did he. The kiss deepened. Then the heart monitor accelerated. A nurse entered and stopped. Lorenzo did not move away. The nurse looked at the screen. Mr. De Luca, your pulse is functioning. Barely, Amara said. He released her reluctantly. For 3 weeks, Lorenzo recovered in the hospital. During that time, the De Luca empire began rearranging itself. Some captains defected. Others demanded proof of strength. Rival families gathered in Marseille. Lorenzo conducted meetings from bed, pale and ruthless, dismissing anyone who mistook injury for weakness. Amara watched him remain feared. He did not become gentle to the world, only honest with her. Celeste revealed the truth about his mother. Isabella De Luca had discovered the vault and planned to expose it to destroy her husband's control over Lorenzo. Vittorio learned of her plan and arranged the car bombing, then blamed a rival family. Lorenzo's father suspected the truth, but preserved Vittorio because he remained useful. Power had swallowed justice. The vault had been built to ensure it always would. With the evidence destroyed, no court would ever prove it. Lorenzo accepted that in silence. One night, Amara found him standing at the hospital window without assistance. "You should be in bed. I have spent enough of my life in rooms chosen by other people." She moved beside him. Below, Monaco glittered around the black wound where the casino had stood. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "The casino?" "Yes." "No." "The vault?" "No." Vittorio, his jaw tightened. "I regret that I believed him longer than I believed you." The words struck deeply. "You did not know me." "I knew enough." Amara looked at the harbor. "I have spent my life studying provenance." Lorenzo waited. Every object carries a chain of custody. Who owned it? Who stole it? Who hid it? Who tried to clean its history? She looked at him. "I thought people were the same. That if I could trace every betrayal, I could understand what they would become. And now I think some people break the chain." Lorenzo's gaze sharpened. "Is that what you think I did? You burned your inheritance. For you." "No," he frowned. "For yourself," she said. "I was only the person standing close enough to make you see it." He was silent for a long moment. Then he touched her hand. "You make sacrifice sound less romantic. I am a curator. I dislike inaccurate labels." He lifted her hand to his mouth. His lips touched the pale skin across her knuckles. Amara's breath caught. "You are romantic enough for both of us," he said. But danger did not end with Vittorio. 2 days before Lorenzo's discharge, an envelope arrived at the hospital. No return address. Inside was a photograph of Amara leaving the ruins of the casino. On the back, the vault was not the only copy. Beneath the message was a name, Amara Vale. Amara stopped breathing. Her sister, dead for 4 years. Lorenzo found her standing beside the bed with the photograph shaking in her hand. "What is it?" She gave it to him. His face changed. "Your sister died in Paris." "Yes." "Clinic fire." "Yes." "Was a body recovered?" Amara looked at him. "Do not." "Was it?" "Do not turn her death into another conspiracy. Answer me." "No complete body." Lorenzo pressed the call button. Enzo entered. "Find everything about Lena Vale's clinic fire." Amara grabbed Lorenzo's arm. "You do not get to do this. If someone used her name, she is dead. And if she is not, the hope was worse than pain." Amara stepped away. "My sister was a physician. She treated people without papers, refugees, trafficked women, men who could not go to public hospitals." Lorenzo listened. "One night, the clinic burned. 3 patients died. Lena disappeared. The police found traces of her blood and 1 dental fragment. Not enough to confirm death. They said it was enough." "Who said?" "A police inspector. Name? Etienne Marot." Enzo left before Lorenzo finished speaking. Within 24 hours, they learned Inspector Marot had retired to Corsica after receiving an unexplained transfer of 2 million euros. The clinic fire occurred the same week. Vittorio began assembling a medical network for the Sanzio family. Lena had not died accidentally. She had seen something. The new threat arrived in the form of a video. Lena appeared seated in a dark room. Older, alive, a scar crossed her forehead. "Amara," she said into the camera, "do not trust Lorenzo De Luca." Amara gripped the edge of the table. Lena continued. "The vault had a mirror archive. Vittorio did not control it alone. Someone inside the De Luca family still does." The video cut. A digital clock appeared. 48 hours, then coordinates near the abandoned oceanographic annex outside Monaco. Lorenzo watched Amara. "You are not going." She turned toward him. "We have discussed this. This is different. It is always different when you want control. It could be a trap. It is a trap. And you still intend to walk into it?" "Yes." "Because she is your sister?" "Yes." Lorenzo looked away. Amara saw fear return. The same fear from the Grand Salon. "What?" she asked. He remained silent. Say it. I destroyed everything to make you no longer useful. And now, someone has found another reason. Yes, you cannot destroy every building in Europe. I can try. Despite herself, she almost laughed. His expression did not change. He meant it. Amara moved closer. You cannot protect me by erasing every danger. I know. You cannot make me small enough to hide. I know. You cannot decide that loving me means keeping me behind your guards. His jaw tightened. I know. Then what can you do? Lorenzo looked at her. Go with you. The oceanographic annex stood on a cliff beyond the city, abandoned after storm damage. At midnight, waves struck the rock below. Amara entered with Lorenzo, Enzo, and 6 trusted men. The building smelled of salt and rust. Aquarium tanks stood empty. Moonlight moved through broken glass. At the center of the old exhibition hall sat Lena. Alive, Amara stopped. For 4 years, she had rehearsed grief. She had learned how to speak her sister's name without collapsing, how to close bank accounts, how to pack clothes, how to forgive a body for surviving someone it loved. Now Lena stood. Amara. The voice was real. Amara crossed the room. They collided. Lena's arms closed around her. Amara pressed her face into her sister's shoulder and sobbed. For one moment, the Mafia war disappeared. Then, Lorenzo saw the wire around Lena's waist. Do not move. Everyone froze. A pressure-triggered explosive device circled Lena's body. Lena whispered, They made me stand when you entered. Amara stepped back carefully. Who? A man emerged from the upper gallery. Matteo De Luca, Lorenzo's uncle, his father's younger brother. He had lived in Switzerland for 20 years and presented himself as retired from family business. Lorenzo raised his weapon. Matteo, you destroyed our legacy. You mean the vault? I mean the structure that kept animals obedient. Matteo looked at Amara. Vittorio always lacked patience. He wanted the index. I wanted the families. You kept Lena alive, Amara said. She authenticated medical deaths hidden in the archive. Lena's face hardened. They forced me to falsify reports. Matteo smiled. She was useful. Lorenzo's expression became murderous. Remove the device. No. Matteo held up a remote. Dr. Vale will open the mirror archive. Where is it? Amara asked. Inside this building. The old aquarium floor contained mosaic panels depicting sea gods. One pattern matched the art lock beneath the casino. The Belladonna had not housed the only vault. It had housed one half. The second archive contained medical files, witness identities, and secret heirs placed in hiding. Matteo wanted access to them. Amara looked at Lena, then at Lorenzo. He gave the smallest shake of his head. Do not. Amara understood. She approached the mosaic. The cipher relied on reflected imagery. Each sea creature represented a stolen painting from the casino collection. She traced the pattern. A hidden door opened beneath the central tank. Matteo smiled. Good. He descended with 2 guards, taking Lena and Amara. Lorenzo followed at gunpoint. The mirror archive was smaller than the vault, more intimate, more horrifying. Rows of medical files, adoption records, photographs of children relocated after assassinations, witnesses hidden under new names. Amara saw Lena's handwriting on dozens of documents. Matteo placed the remote on the console. Open the index. Amara examined it. The mechanism was damaged. The explosion at the casino disrupted the network. Repair it. I need tools. Matteo gestured. A case opened. Lena looked at Amara. Their eyes met. The old language between sisters returned. As children, they had communicated across dinner tables without words. Lena glanced at the pressure wire, then at the floor drain. Amara understood. Salt water ran through the building's emergency system. If they flooded the lower chamber, the remote signal might fail, but the archive would be destroyed. Again, Lorenzo watched her. She looked toward the overhead pipe. He followed her gaze. Matteo noticed. What are you doing? Thinking. You think too slowly. You kept my sister for 4 years. You can wait 4 minutes. His face tightened. Amara opened the tool case. Lena shifted 1 inch toward the drain. Lorenzo moved slightly left. Enzo waited near the door. Everyone understood except Matteo. Amara drove a screwdriver into the emergency valve. Water exploded from the ceiling. The lights died. Matteo pressed the remote. Nothing happened. Lorenzo fired. Gunshots flashed through darkness. Amara pulled Lena to the floor. Enzo tackled one guard. The chamber flooded. Files fell from shelves into black water. Matteo ran toward the exit. Lorenzo followed. Amara began cutting the wire around Lena. Do not move. I have been trying not to for 4 years. You're still irritating. You're still controlling. Amara laughed through tears. The final wire snapped. She pulled the device away and threw it into the water. A gunshot sounded from the upper hall. Then silence. Lorenzo returned alone. Blood marked his collar. Matteo? Alive. Amara looked at him. You did not kill him. No. Why? Because you asked me once not to let hatred decide our future. She had never asked those exact words, but she understood what he meant. He had remembered the lesson before she taught it. Lena stared at him. This is Lorenzo De Luca? Yes, Amara said. He destroyed a casino for you. Yes. Lena looked him over. Seems excessive. Lorenzo's face remained serious. It was a large casino. For the first time in years, Amara heard her sister laugh. Months passed. The Belladonna was not rebuilt. Lorenzo sold the harbor property to the principality under one condition. The ruins would become a public memorial and restitution museum for stolen European art. Every authenticated painting from the private collection was returned to its rightful family or institution. Amara became the museum's founding curator. She refused Lorenzo's money. He donated anonymously anyway. She discovered it and made him put his name on the plaque. Why? He asked. Anonymous power avoids accountability. You enjoy correcting me more than is healthy. Lena opened a medical center for trafficking survivors outside Nice. Celeste became director of security. Enzo complained that every woman in Lorenzo's life now gave him orders. Matteo and the surviving members of the Mirror Archive network were handed to a private judicial task force built from officials whose names had not appeared in either vault. It was not perfect justice, but it was daylight. 1 year after the casino exploded, Amara stood inside the memorial hall on opening night. The roof had been rebuilt in clear glass, not as a casino crown, as a window. Beneath it hung the recovered Klimt study. The Weiss granddaughter stood beside Amara, crying silently. It feels like my grandmother came home, she said. Amara took her hand. Across the hall, Lorenzo waited. He wore a black tuxedo. People still feared him. Government still watched him. His empire still existed, but its darkest rooms had been closed. He did not approach until Amara finished speaking with the family. Then he stopped beside her. You are staring, she said. Yes. At the painting? No. Guests moved around them. Camera flashes caught the vitiligo across her face and hands. For once, Amara did not feel displayed. She felt seen. Do you regret not rebuilding the casino? She asked. Lorenzo looked at the glass roof. No, not even a little. I miss the music room. We saved the records. I miss the room. You own 7 houses. None of them were that room. Amara reached into her bag. She handed him a brass key. Lorenzo looked at it. What is this? The East Wing. The museum? The restored music gallery. His gaze lifted. You rebuilt it. I preserved what deserved preservation. He closed his hand around the key. And what about me? Amara stepped closer. You are still under review. Harsh. Accurate. The orchestra began playing his mother's favorite aria. Lorenzo went still. He looked toward the upper gallery. The restored music room doors stood open. Inside waited the photograph of Isabella, the old record player, and the chair where he had once admitted he was trying not to want Amara. He looked back at her. You did this. Yes. Why? Because burning the vault did not require erasing everything that came before it. Emotion moved through his face. Controlled. Deep. He touched her cheek. This time, he did not ask. not because permission no longer mattered, because she had already leaned into his hand. "You are dangerous," he said. "You knew that." "I underestimated the form." Amara smiled. "Dance with me." "I do not dance." "You owned a casino." "I watched other people lose money while dancing." She took his hand. The hall opened around them. Curators, survivors, families, former enemies, people whose histories had once been locked beneath stone. Lorenzo followed her into the center of the room. His hand settled at her waist. The other held hers. "Everyone is watching," he said. "They usually do." "Does it still hurt?" "Sometimes." And tonight, Amara looked around at the cameras, at the guests, at the pale and dark patterns of her own hand against his. "No." "Why?" "Because I chose where to stand." They moved beneath the glass roof. Above them, Monaco's night sky reflected across the panels. Below them, the ruins of the old vault remained buried beneath sealed stone. Lorenzo looked at her as though the entire room had disappeared. "You destroyed my casino," he said. Amara raised an eyebrow. "You pressed the detonator. You found the vault. You hired me. Vittorio recommended you. You approved me." His mouth curved. "So we agree it was your fault." "Completely." The music softened. Lorenzo drew her closer. "1 year ago, I thought power meant making certain no one could take anything from me. And now? Now I think power is knowing what to let burn." Amara's throat tightened. "And what to save?" His hand moved over hers. "What chooses to stay?" He kissed her beneath the restored glass roof. No explosion followed. No gunfire interrupted. No secret opened beneath their feet. The kiss was not desperate. It did not belong to danger. It belonged to survival after danger, to trust that had been earned through truth, choice, and loss. When they separated, Lorenzo reached into his jacket. Amara stared. "If that is a ring, I am leaving." "It is not." He opened his hand. A casino chip lay in his palm, black with a gold belladonna flower, the only one recovered intact from the ruin. Amara took it. "You kept this?" "No. Enzo found it." "What does it mean?" Lorenzo looked around the museum that stood where his empire's crown had once been. "It means I lost everything at the Belladonna." Amara studied him. His expression remained serious. "And?" He touched the pale pattern crossing her wrist. "And finally, won something I did not own." Her eyes burned. "That is almost romantic. I have had a year of instruction. You remain difficult. You remain here. For now." "For now," he repeated. Outside, the Mediterranean moved beneath the cliffs. Inside, the lights reflected through clear glass onto paintings returned from darkness. The casino was gone. The vault was ash. The secrets that had ruled men for generations no longer had a throne. And Lorenzo De Luca, who had once believed love was simply another weakness waiting to be used, stood in the ruins of everything he had inherited with the only woman who had ever forced him to choose what kind of man would remain after the fire. Amara placed the black chip in his breast pocket. "Come upstairs," she said. "To the music room?" "Yes." "Will there be another argument?" "Certainly." "Good." He offered his hand. She took it. Together, they walked beneath the glass roof toward the restored East Gallery. Behind them, the orchestra continued playing. Ahead of them, the doors stood open. And for the first time in his life, Lorenzo entered a room that held his family's past without allowing it to decide his future. Amara walked beside him, visible, unhidden, and entirely her own. The city glittered beyond the windows. The sea carried the last reflection of the vanished casino into darkness. And where the Belladonna had once promised that every secret could be purchased, a new place now stood on the same ground with a different promise. Nothing stolen would remain buried forever. Not art, not truth, not love, and not the woman he had destroyed an empire to protect.